Today, an unbelievable news that is too hot for the mainstream. Share the video now, subscribe, turn on notifications, never miss a video. My name is Hannes Hoertnagl.
And my name is Benjamin, and don't forget to watch the recording of Investinbest live event. Is there still a few days left under this video at an absolute special price? And very, very important, we also made a big presentation at the Friends Congress with Hannes and me. And you will also find entertainment for this video. However, where we discussed many, many things that will come to us in 2024. Hannes, today, great video. We discussed generations, current situation with young people, real estate, big topic. We have many, many with us. Watch the video. I would say, let's begin.
We're used to much from the German gov in terms of what's planned and done there. For instance, we get nutrition tips from R. Lang.
This advertising, which kids see online and on TV, is for candies, snacks, and fast food promoting unhealthy eating habits.
Baerbock mistakenly declares war on Russia.
Yes, we need to do more, even with the tanks.
And of course, the smallest chancellor who laughs himself silly at his own people.
Recently, someone came to me and said, Mr. Schultz, I just converted my electric oven to a gas oven. And I had no idea how incredibly sad. I shouldn't have looked.
We are already used to a lot from Minister of Economic Affairs Habeck. But what we are hearing from you now, what we are currently seeing from Minister of Economic Affairs Habeck, is truly mind-boggling. And thus, in the spring of 2023, we narrowly averted a banking crisis in Europe and the United States of America. And yes, at Investinbest, we anticipate more of it for 2024, larger beginners, particularly in banking, coming our way. Then it's good and one feels safe when aware that the Minister of Economy knows his stuff.
We are discussing an increase in the bank's equity capital from 8% to 20%. In Basel III, it went from 1 to 5%. But 8 is currently the default, correct? 5. Do you mean that? Any entrepreneur has the potential to shut down. Yes, that is indeed true, but well, that signifies that if you were to pull the plug at this very moment, it would inevitably collapse and experience a complete failure in its structure and functionality.
With respect, I'm supposed to vote for them so they can deregulate. Why do I have to explain this to them?
And then you can summarize ignorance is one thing. Yes, ignorance can perhaps even be forgiven. But ignorance combined with power, with uncontrolled hunger for power, yes, that is a very, very dangerous mixture. And this dangerous mixture, which is currently discharging in and over Germany. And what I mean by that, and for that you have to take a look at Davos, where once again our favorite guest, Mr. Zelensky from Ukraine, is freshly flown in, off to Switzerland, to you, Benjamin, and thus, of course, also participating in the World Economic Forum as the president of Ukraine at war. Whatever, as always. But what is exciting about it is Habeck, and we have set a clear forecast in our Prepare for 20. We have repeatedly addressed in the weekly updates from Investinbest what is coming to Germany. And yes, that will hit now. And that's Mr. Zelensky in Ukraine, speaks of Ukraine, that he needs more money once again. Nothing new, but on the other hand, it is already clear that Habeck also speaks of a reconstruction conference that will take place in Berlin next summer. He speaks it openly and bluntly. And once again, one must say with what decadence is being ruled here, that becomes obvious and clear. Because Habeck openly states that this reconstruction conference in Berlin, currently planned in Davos.
In summer, the major reconstruction conference for Ukraine in Berlin is being prepared today.
What is the reason for the reconstruction of heads of state being governed at an economic conference? A private association, the WEF, meets in Tervosen in the Alps, there with many capital holders, in order to clearly accept the instructions, which are then to be politically processed. And one of these instructions we have already just announced, as I said, and it will now take effect. And indeed, if you look at how, for example, the arms and pharmaceutical industries have met in Davos in recent years to roll out their agenda, you can also look at the major code conferences, the climate conferences, such as this year in Dubai, where the energy transition, the funds, the funding for the energy transition are distributed. And then you can clearly see what was decided in Davos at this moment, and that takes the biscuit. You can only say that action.
Regarding Germany, I can state that in the prior year we achieved something unprecedented for us. So we ensure investments in other countries. And if something goes awry, it's similar to an insurance, then the state intervenes.
For many investors, this is essential.
In Davos, a strong signal is demonstrated.
The expression by Habeck in this particular context is simply a manifestation of the principle of sharing the burden in solidarity with Ukraine. We have already announced all of this in our videos, and now it is starting to become a reality to some extent. Habeck speaks of us having performed an action we have never performed previously. I state once that is not accurate. You did it, Govt. Reps, in the Euro crisis, you did it in the refugee crisis, you did it in the COVID crisis, and in all acts of war. You have repeatedly taken private assets from people, socialized the whole thing, and devalued it to a certain extent through inflation or redistributed it in order to bring it back into private hands. Only taken by the general public, by the high achievers in a country, and given to a small elite financial power caste. We see this again now when unlimited liabilities are assumed by Germany for the reconstruction in Ukraine, and thus an injustice is created instead of the same. Yes, Minister Habeck, quite right, you have done something that should never have been done, and with that, Germany will continue to depend not only on the whole European Union, not only on the big brother in the USA, but now also be used for the reconstruction in Ukraine. German assets are being moved to aid in the reconstruction of Ukraine, and as a result, we extend warm greetings to BlackRock, as private individuals will greatly benefit from it. With that, it must be said, a unique specimen has been defeated, and it's clear what will come next for Germany in the next steps. This is the current economic system, supported by Minister of Economics Habeck. It socializes debts, distributes them to the general public, and privatizes profits into individual elitist hands. These hands have been chosen and heard, similar to the meetings currently taking place in Davos. But Benjamin, enough about Germany, the cash cow of Europe and the world which it is now, but let's see the whole globe instead. How are young people doing these days, and where is their property best kept in general?
Hannes, you mentioned that profits are privatized, losses are socialized, and a specific segment of the population bears the cost of that. Sadly, globally, more and more young people can't afford to live alone. They are moving back in with their parents due to financial constraints. We discussed this topic in our book, The Generation Crash, 5 years ago in 2019, and now, 5 years later, there are new facts we want to share with you. According to a recent study by Credit Karma, currently 31% of Generation Z, which is the generation born from 2000 to 2020, are living at home with their parents because they cannot afford to rent or buy a home. 11% of American adults still reside with their parents, indicating individuals who are over 18 years of age. Yes, and I want to extract a quote from the financial advisor of Credit Karma, Courtney LF, who states that in the current real estate market, numerous Americans are modifying their living situation by relocating to more affordable cities or returning to live with their families. Yes, millennials, for example, I am a millennial, Hannes Isa millennial, 1980 to 2000. They are currently in the same boat, and 30% of them say that the rent is currently unaffordable. The trend is identical in America and in Europe. Additionally, 25% of individuals are contemplating relocating back in with their parents. Everyone is telling the same story, and the exciting thing is that everyone mentions the same reason for it, and all respondents say that finances are the main reason why young people today can no longer afford to own, let alone rent or buy, an apartment. Let's talk about average prices in America. Currently, a single-family home costs an average of $431,000, and the average rental price, which I find to be even more severe, is established at $1,964 per month. So correct, truly insane, and as per the report of Credit News Research, the millennials and Generation Z are in fact entirely excluded from purchasing a house because of these escalating property prices, higher interest rates, stagnant real wages, and inflation adjusted. And now comes the actually most exciting thing about the entire numbers on the scaffold, and specifically the rent. They have increased by 135% from 1999 to the year 2023, while the average incomes of age groups across the entire population have only increased by 77% in the same period. You see total impoverishment of the population. It's a silent expropriation, not just about supermarket prices, but really about the living situation with property prices. 46% of millennials and 37% of Generation Z also indicate that they spend the majority or the entirety of their salary and all the bills they have to pay for each month. That means there are no savings left. There is no chance for this generation to get ahead in any way. But at Investinbest, We have always said that there are opportunities, even for the younger generation, to benefit from the current expropriations that are taking place. And as for Hannes, as I said, cryptocurrency, for example, one of the instruments, maybe Bitcoin for young people, Ethereum, or of course other altcoins and cryptocurrencies and also commodities, gold, etc., are actually the last opportunities to somehow really benefit from this wealth transfer, so that at the end of the day, you don't end up like almost all people out there as losers in order to, yes, how should I say, move up to this class where you might also be able to afford an apartment someday. Hannes